So when we were measuring our other horse, we had someone else come up and ask if we could measure their animal here. So we've got an old jumping horse, and you can see that he's not trimmed. If you look in the front, it's interesting. If you come in the front and look this way from this view, you can kind of see that he's got a little offset knee on his left fore. His right fore is fairly normal, and so he's a little toed in on his left foot, and he's a little rotated on his right foot as well. But interestingly, you can see the wear patterns on his toes, and how most horses break over to the outside of center of their toes. So that's not unusual. He's got fairly even feet, although one's longer than the other, and that's something that we can usually address with good trimming. But the reason that we wanted to measure it is, if you look at the hind feet, we've got some toes that are dubbed off, and as you can see, he's really wearing both toes. I would immediately want to go to hock problems. His conformation behind is not bad. If we could square him up a little bit, maybe just back him up a half step. There you go. So if we could look at his conformation, it's not in the hind end, it's not that bad. He's got pretty good angulation in his hocks. He may be standing back a little bit, but really overall, we don't really see much. Here's a good view here. If you come down from the point of his buttocks, you should have a straight line to the hock, straight line to the fetlock, and a proportional hoof pastern length. So everything seems to be in order from the side view. From the back view, he's not really that base narrow. A lot of horses that are performing have a large motor here, and a lot of times the feet are basically base narrow behind. He's got pretty good width, and so overall his conformation's not bad. We're going to measure him before we trim him, and then we're going to shoe him or trim him and then shoe him afterwards, and we'll get a measurement just to kind of show the difference that a barefoot, long foot, and proper trimming will do on his gait. Okay. All right. Now we've woken the sensors up. We need a good flat ground. We're going to walk him and get a good 30 to 40 strides in walking, 30 to 40 strides in trotting. Make sure the horse is going straight ahead on flat ground. As the person is walking or trotting the horse, make sure the horse has his head a little bit and it can travel in a way that's not being influenced by the person that's leading the horse. So off we go. We're gonna tell them to start measuring. Now we're measuring. We're recording data, and off we go. Again, it's really important that we use our eyes. You can see how he's really overloading the outside of the right hind. We can see how he's breaking over, how he's landing from here. And we're going to develop our own opinion with our eyes. That's what we always do. But when we get back and pull the sensors off and measure it, we're going to confirm what we think we're seeing. Good. Yeah, good. And now we'll do the second measurement, which is a combination measurement of hard ground and soft ground. So again, to review, we need to have a good 10 steps on flat ground that calibrates the orientation of the foot. Walk right into the arena and give me another 30 or 40 steps in walking and 30 or 40 steps in trot. So off we go. Sensors are now measuring. The reason that, again, to review, the reason that we have to have our 10 strides on flat is because that tells the sensors what flat is, where the ground is. when it gets into soft ground, generally the faster the horses go, the more toe down that their orientation of the foot is when they come to the end of the slide phase and the loading phase. So we want to make sure that that doesn't come in and screw up our measurements. You can see as he's turning the horse, it's going to be important to make sure that you kind of have a big turn, because if you get him all jammed up and turning around, he might step on the sensors, and yeah, let's have to start the measurement again. Okay, can you do that one more time? I want to see him trot one more time. It looks pretty, hocks seem to be pretty stiff. I mean, I don't have a lot of hock flexion here, so it could be a reason, big reason why he's dragging his toes. Getting him dragging that toe? Every stride he's dragging the toe. So we'll take the sensors off. They've got a little hook there. It makes it easy to just pop them right off. Just like that. And the other thing is that this Velcro is pretty wicked in its adhesion. So you want to take that Velcro off the same day. If you leave it on overnight, you pretty well have to rasp the Velcro off. So if you care about that, you need to go ahead and get the Velcro off the foot the same day that you measure. So again, I like to put them in there so that they charge. And this machine, this unit has a charging port here. You just plug that in and that will charge everything, all the sensors and the remote control. So put that in there, wake our machine up, go back to the home screen, and we'll start downloading. Press 5 seconds and we see the blue light come on, and then these blue lights are flashing. That means that you want to relate the blue to Bluetooth. So that means it's Bluetoothing and uploading information to this tablet. You can see now the tablet's recognized it. It's giving you an idea of how much charge we have and which sensors are being uploaded. So now we've done some work and removed a little bit of length on the outside. We've got a little bit better shape to the foot. We've got it medial-laterally balanced better on that side. But because he has this, he's a little bit what we call broken out in the coffin joint. So his coffin bone is like this because he's not rotated. You see the center of his cannon bone. Here's this metacarpal tuberosity here. As we come straight down, there's the mid-sagittal ridge of the cannon bone. Pasterns are fairly straight. This is the center of his toe. So he's like this, which is an angular deformity of the coffin joint. So what we're going to do is, to help hold this trim more, we're going to put a little bit of width here, and we're going to put a little bit of a ground penetrating branch on the inside, so as he loads we can try to he can even his own foot out. Now what we saw on our evaluation here is the reason why we're making this game plan. So we saw how he's bearing weight in an asymmetrical, not normal pattern. So guy's getting a little old, he needs a little help. Let's do what we can to keep him sound. He's already has some problems behind. So that's all we're going to do, not a big deal. A little bit of a full lateral supporting outside. Got to have the right shoe for that. And we're going to make the inside branch a bit more ground penetrating. Hopefully that'll help to hold this trim for a longer time. Now we look at this other limb. We have an axial limb deformity, what we call an offset knee. And you can see how prominent his lateral extensor and main extensor tendon are as he comes down, and that's quite normal for this type of conformation. But when we picked up his foot, he does not have an inside out foot like this one does, meaning that the mass of the foot should be on the outside, but on this guy was on the inside. So we call that an inside out foot. And the reason we say that is because I believe that athletic horses should have a bit of a set to their front feet, maybe 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, hind feet a bit more. I think that's a little bit more biomechanically advantageous for horses. So this guy has got a little bit different conformation problem. His flares to the outside. He has a normal foot. So he's just got a twisted coffin joint, and his foot's rotated in this way, where this guy is a little bit more of an angular limb deformity. So we have a rotational limb deformity versus an angular limb deformity. So what we've done is we've trimmed him such that he's now bearing weight a little bit more squarely underneath the cannonbone. So we've got his foot a little bit more square under his cannonbone. It's not quite so rotated. Now we're just going to shoe him a fairly normal shoeing. We're not going to fit him wide on the outside. We're going to just go ahead and fit him normal. Okay, so we've taken a Workman Warrior shoe, ground the clip off, made a little bit of a lateral extension shoe. So we wanted this branch wider. You can see where the burn is here. We're still center over there. So we helped widen this with the fuller here, and then we took our hammer and pushed it out another few millimeters that way. So that's the supportive branch. This is the ground penetrating branch. So we cut the inside out with our fuller, ground the outside out, similar angle. So anytime we have the ground surface of the shoe narrower than the foot surface of the shoe, it tends to be ground penetrating. So the idea is that. Okay. We're able to get most of the correction done with our trim, and we just put a normal shoe. We just ease the toe a little bit. We're going to fit this toe a little bit more to the toe. It's not going to be set under. We set the other one under just a couple millimeters, not much at all, but we heavily rolled the toe. This one, the toe is not quite as rolled, and it's just a normal fitting shoe. It's just a normal pleasure fitting shoe. So I think we got most of our correction done with our trim. Okay, so we've got the hind feet done. We've got picked up some information on the measuring that we've got some instability on the right hind. We can see it in the hock as he moves. Generally, when we have unstable hocks, lateral support shoes do a good job. Hayden Price did a good job years ago of teaching us that. So we've got some lateral support on one side, not so much of lateral support on the other, but he's dragging his toes, and he's dragging his toes for some other reason than conformation. So if we look at his conformation, it's not bad. He doesn't have really straight hocks. Again, his hocks are nice and clean. They don't seem to be sore. It seems to be more on the stifle, and as I've worked with him and shot him and clinched him off, seems to be a little bit of stifle problem. So don't know for sure, but that's my gut feeling. So because he's dragging his toes, he could either do it because he's lazy, and a lot of times when you get them saddled up and get on them, they wake up a little bit and it's not a problem, but he's dragging them pretty good. So I've had good luck in the past by leaving the shoe forward where the foot would normally be. And what that does is give us a little forward arm leverage so that when we're bearing weight, the toe doesn't tend to dip down and lose purchase to the ground. So it tends to hold the foot a little more stable until he can get on top of it more, and it seems to be more comfortable to either push off or to lift his leg out of the ground. I don't know which, but it seems to be more comfortable. And what I hope to see is as he breaks over his hind foot, he'll have a little bit higher stride because of that little extra shoe that has presented a lever out there that I hope will work with us. So hopefully we'll see some advantage from these shoes when we got done. Let's go.
Yeah.
And go. So generally we'd like to see him open up a little bit behind. He is kind of base narrow as he's walking. When he trots, he'll open up. We're hoping that shoe will open him up a little bit as well. Haven't watched him walk enough to see if it's working. It looks like his hock is a bit more stable. Okay, let's do the combi measurement now, and off we go. Thank you, ladies. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope.
Yep. So again, we'll come over here and put our stuff in, wake our machine up. Let them charge. When we get home tonight, we'll plug this in so it's always charged. And goes to blue, means Bluetooth. So it's picking up the sensors, all of them, but this one's blinking. I don't know what's going on with the left front. We'll see if it picks it up. So it'd be the left front, yeah? Good. Okay. Yeah, now we've got them all on there. Okay, we're finished with our horse, and we've measured him before we trimmed him. We measured him after we trimmed his feet, both on hard ground and on soft ground. We developed a little bit of a shoeing program for this guy, basically because of his conformation. We had a little bit of an angular deformity on one front foot that resulted in his foot turning in. More of an angular rotational deviation on the other foot that turned it in a different way. So on what we did was put a little bit of a lateral supportive shoe on the front on one side, and then a ground penetrating branch on the other. So what happened was he was landing really medially on both feet and really toe first. It doesn't really bother me nowadays, since we've looked at so many horses on high-speed video and with the Workman Black, that a lot of horses do that, and it depends on the speed at which they're going on how the foot lands on the ground. Sometimes toe first, sometimes flat-footed. This guy was landing medially on both front feet, and so that's usually never a good sign, because the mechanics of the limb are not designed to do that. So we got him to land more centrally, more squared up, still landing toe first. Seems to be his preference. Doesn't seem to be lame at all. As a matter of fact, after we did it, they rode him and did some lessons on him, and the rider came back and found us and said, hey, this horse is moving so much better, you know, a little bit freer. So we were able to kind of get those front feet squared away according to the measurements that we were taking, and obviously using our eyes. It was pretty obvious that he needed some lateral support. On the hind feet, it was interesting that he was dragging his toe really hard, and again, we don't really know why. I do think that he seemed to be a little stifle sore. So by the time I got done shoeing him and trimming him and shoeing him and clenching him, it seemed to be something going on up in his stifle joint. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was something there. But we did get him to well, let's see what we did. We put a little lateral extension on one side and basically shot him fairly normal on the other foot, because one was a lot more in need of that. So we were able to stop the toe dragging, and what we were able to do, I kind of wanted to show you that we've got this this window up, and we were able to increase the stride length, increase the stride height, and get the point of breakover a little bit more healthy. So as you can see, before and after, the before, it's just normal, it's logical that he would break over his toe first, and as a result have a lower arc of flight and a lower stride length, giving that subtle delay of maybe 8 or 10 millimeters, which is normal, which was where his normal foot would be. And I think understanding going past that could present some problems. So we just put the shoe where the foot had worn away and where the foot would normally be. You can see that it's delayed the breakover a little bit. He's got a lot more flexion in his fetlock and in his coffin joint as he comes off the ground. So that tells me that he's building a lot of elastic recoil and using the impulsion of his suspensory apparatus to help him get off the ground higher. So you can see his highest point of his stride is right there after he breaks over his toe. That tells me that he's utilizing the stored elastic energy in his suspensory apparatus to do that. And we were able to increase the stride length as well. Hitting the ground fairly good, fairly normal. So we didn't accomplish everything. We would like to have him even a little better, but now we have a reference point. So if we wanted to improve on that, we at least have a point of reference where we know, okay, he's here now, and we've improved him to here, so we can try to improve him even more by either another game plan or continuing on with what we were doing. So in conclusion, we were able to use black on this one horse to help see a little bit of, and it was a surprise to see because we couldn't see that he was landing on his inside of his front feet. So we were able to measure that. We were able to adjust that a little bit, and then by using our correct trimming techniques and shoe modifications and shoe fitting, we were able to get him a little bit more comfortable, so that after all this, he was actually moving a lot better, and it was detectable by a rider on top of his back. So that's just a little example of what Workman Black can do to help you kind of sort some things out for some of your problem horses.